Places, people, it's that time of the week again! We have new Nintendo Switch 2 rumors upon us. You know, it was being a little bit of a slow news week, but apparently, according to Video Games Chronicle, link in the description down below, development kits for Nintendo's next console are out in the wild, people, with quote-unquote key partner studios, with the plan being to launch the console in the back end of 2024. Now, I know I didn't make the most bold prediction of all time when I said I thought the console would release in 2024 or early 2025, but it's still pretty nice, even when rumors and maybe a nothing burger kind of support that. And if you think I won't take credit, or at least boost my own ego about this, oh, contenamo to me. So I'm gonna leave a link in the description to the Video Games Chronicle article, the IGN, and the GameSpot, because I've perused them, and there's some little nuggets of information that I think are worth talking about. One is the release date. Honestly, it makes sense, and I think if you want to understand the motivations or decision-making of a company, you follow the money. And Video Games Chronicle really details how it makes financial sense for Nintendo to release a console within that time frame, that late 2024, and not necessarily late, but second half of 2024 time frame. Because when you look at the projections for Switch hardware sales, and just overall software sales in general, they're expecting a pretty sizable decline around that time frame. So slotting in a new console with a whole bunch of marketing and hype makes sense to bolster numbers back up so it doesn't just look like a decline. Remember, Nintendo is a company, and while they may make amazing fun games, follow the money. And if you want to understand the decision making, ask yourself the question, what's going to make them the most money? That should be a guiding Polaris star when judging whatever a company does. And when you look at the modern video game landscape and just what role and niche Nintendo fulfills, well, let's look at a few things. One, their console tends to be the cheapest, or at least among the cheapest, alongside things like the Xbox Series S. That means more people are capable of picking up the hardware because they don't have to spend as much money on it. However, there's a double kicker here. While the console may not be top of the line in terms of power behind it or processing or graphics, what it does pack and bring to the table is hybridization of being in the dock as a regular console, where you can play it on a monitor or a TV, be in your sofa or a chair or whatever. However, you can undock it, take it around, act as a tablet, it can be a mobile device. Not everyone will use that functionality, not everyone will use the functionality of it being a stay-at-home console. However, it appeals to both audiences because it can do both jobs. And while that may be inconsequential to some people, it is very pivotal to a lot of people, but it also expands the potential market share that the Switch can appease or appeal to. People on the go a lot, families, people on a low budget, more casual gamers, which is a substantial market, by the way. It is a device, and arguably the device that appeals to the most people. And I think that is reflected in its sale numbers. And Nintendo has games and a plethora of first-party titles that are uniquely Nintendo, that can appeal to more hardcore gamers or for the more casual audience. That is the niche that Nintendo is able to fulfill in the modern day, where they can appeal to a lot of people and be purchased by a lot of people because it's a cheaper console, by design. And when I made previous videos about the Switch 2, or whatever they will call it, maybe the Super Switch, or the Super Nintendo Switch, which I think is a pretty cool name, I said I don't see why they would move away from that model, from that formula. Because unlike the Wii U, this is a proven success. This is something that has been market tested for years, people like and really appreciate, and I don't see that wanting to go anywhere. For years, Nintendo's tried a whole bunch of different gimmicks when it came to its console to try and differentiate itself from the PlayStations and Xboxes and PC gaming. And I think they fulfilled a really high-quality niche that appeals to a lot of people and allows them to try a bunch of different things. I don't see the idea of the Switch going anywhere, and from these reports, I think Nintendo probably agrees. So again, from that Video Games Chronicle, an LCD screen instead of an OLED screen to help bring down costs. the new console will accept physical games via a cartridge slot. Which makes sense to me because cartridges are more portable, at least the Switch version of cartridges are just more portable than carrying or lugging around a freaking CD all the time. If you want to play this game on the go, that makes sense to me. And if they design it in the correct way, could also mean it's backwards compatible with the Switch, though there's no confirmation on that. But for me, again, when you already have this sizable player base of active users, especially in this modern day of digital games, I think Phil Spencer was on the money here. The era of video game consoles from the Xbox One, PS4 onwards is forever changed because people now have digital games libraries that they do not want to let go of. And if you force the consumer to let go of them, you are going to alienate a lot of people, and I don't think the Nintendo Switch is an exception. Sure, they reference in some of these articles that third-party developers wonder or fear that maybe console sales will be less if there's backwards compatibility with the Switch. However, again, PR is a factor here. And sure, it's still Nintendo, it's going to sell regardless. However, Nintendo has had console flops before. Don't forget the Wii U. That wasn't that long ago. The whims of the consumer can change very quickly, and negative PR can turn into bad word of mouth, and that could be a very hard stain to cleanse from your reputation. I do not see backwards compatibility going anywhere. I think if they get rid of backwards compatibility for the Nintendo Switch at minimum, then they risk alienating a massive audience of people who would not be willing to upgrade from Nintendo Switch because they don't want to potentially lose out on their games. Now, there is an argument to be made with just keep your Nintendo Switch, but we've also seen that people en masse, and you can see this in the PC gaming market, really like their games in one place. Convenience is a massive factor when it comes to consumer practices. Consumers like things to be right up front where they like it in a natural setting with clean UI that they know how to navigate with all of their games in one easy, searchable, navigable place. And a lot of people won't want to shuffle between multiple consoles trying to find which one has the game they really want to play at that moment. It creates unnecessary friction, whereas backwards compatibility can be used as a marketing tactic for the new console while showcasing a bunch of new games, utilizing the new tech behind it to its advantage. It's a Nintendo console. Nowadays, we don't expect cutting-edge graphics from a Nintendo console. They don't need those, though. If you can hit a 1080p 60 FPS mark for most of Nintendo's first-party titles, that's going to be a big sell all of itself. If they ever show me 1080p 60 FPS Xenoblade Chronicles or Tears of the Kingdom for the next console at least, you're going to hear my moans from space. Nintendo has always relied on beautiful art styles and aesthetics to really keep those games looking modern and ageless in a lot of different ways, giving them more power to do even more things with these games. That is the direction I think they should go. You don't need to be cutting edge. You don't need to be a PS5 or an Xbox Series X or a modern day gaming PC, for Christ's sake. You don't need that. Nintendo knows they don't need that. The consumers know they don't need to do that. But don't have your games look like they're from 20 freaking years ago or 10 years ago. Just aim for that 1080p 60 FPS option. Have it as an option for most games, if not every game, and let the consumer pick if they want to prioritize graphical fidelity or frame rate, and a steady frame rate at that. Let the player choose. That is what Nintendo's really good at, letting the player choose how they want to utilize their console, whether it's as a mobile device, plug-in console, whatever. Also, have an Ethernet port in the base version for the love of God, and not just in the OLED models, please. Like, for me, right? Like, that is very basic. Please, for me. I think Nintendo's at a very critical moment overall. And if they can show in the modern scene that they can release two banger consoles one after the other, they'll be in a far better position. But they need to tread carefully here. And from the reports that we are seeing, it seems like they're at least trending in the right direction. I'll be very interested to see where this console goes, how they announce it, what's it like, what kind of kit does it have, what games will it have. Very interested to see all that information. But for now, I'm going to call it there for the day. Thank you all for tuning in. My pleasure for making the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. Stay safe, everybody. Have a great day. Go play some video games if you can, and as always, I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Until we meet again.